Hello, everybody. This is Pete from PA Labs. And well, our next stage of this, we finished the database helper. So these are all our SQL related database calls we got to make. And so now I kind of want to take a look at the code we wrote that's currently running and working and seeing what are the steps of messing with this list or this enumeration, or excuse me, this is a structure. What are the steps? What are the pieces of code that are in here that need to be kind of moved to a database object to take care of this this stuff? Okay, and so I'm going to use our person DB .pb. And what I'm going to do is, for right now, let's close down the helper because he's a shared kind of thing. So initialize, well, okay, we need an initialization step. And it dawned on me that, we never dispose of this guy. We have a very small, but we have a definite memory leak here where we're constantly using this guy, and we could easily end up getting a memory leak. So my thinking is we probably need to dispose. Now, that's not a real big issue. If we looked at the code for the dispose of this class, it's a single sentence, okay? So if I came over here and said, okay, let's turn this into a procedure. So we're going to do, so you pass me an object of type person. Okay. So then all we have to do to dispose this, because all it is a string and an integer and a key and another integer. There's nothing there to dispose. If we had an image, well, then, yeah, we'd need to dispose that. My goodness, that would eat up memory real fast. All we really need to do, is a clear structure. Okay. And here we just give him our class. And then we say this is of type person. Okay, that way he knows how to get rid of that out of memory. Okay. So poof. That's got dispose done. Initialization, if we turn this into a procedure, let's see. Let's see what that's going to be. Well, you got to pass it to us. So, ERSON. All right. So the first step here, well, the first step here is always we're going to call dispose. And we can say this is a class. So there's that. And then if we were going to initialize it, then we need to just say class, whoops, I'm sorry. And we can say ID equals 0. And we want class name. Really initializing, that would be a 02. And okay, yes. And then thirdly, okay, age. Well, we've been initializing this at 25. All right, let's go ahead and keep doing that. So that's pretty much it. But let's revisit our structure for a minute. now that we're going to be playing with a database, let's come up here and say, actually, I don't need to retype that, right? We have it over here at the top. All right, let's go ahead and move it out of here. And now, yes, I know we've broken code, but that's okay. We're going to fix it. But okay, so here's our structure, and we got to keep these unique throughout the world. So how about if we say person initialization is just too dadgum long for me to type. And then we can say person dispose. You know, if you actually had five, how I did that, if you actually had five classes or five tables, all of them are going to need init, all of them are going to need dispose. So we need to thread these names such that they're globally clean. But we got to come up here because our table has an ID. We add an ID to this table. And then we got one more field we got to add. Okay. And this is going to be a structure field and not a table field. Okay. So this is going to be a status flag. Okay. I normally call this state. Okay. And that's an integer. All right. Now, state, that's where we're going to come back over here because this is, wait a minute, I closed it. Hold on. We'll get there in a second. Let's see. States. States are globally the same across everything. So where's our helper? Database helper. Let's bring this guy back to life. And I want to come over here and let's go ahead and say enumeration and enumeration. And we can come here and say new equals 1. Whoops. Okay, and then there's such a thing as new dirty, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then we're going to have dirty, and then we're going to have clean. And lastly, we're going to actually have a delete. But delete's already taken by PureBasic, so we cannot use delete. So let's just call it delete record. Okay. Now, these are the states. And okay, this is come over here and let's say brand new. Brand new. Okay, we just created it from nothing. This means it's new but changed. So if this is a new record and it's in the queue to be saved, but we haven't saved to the database yet, and they want to modify the new record, well, if it's still in a new state, then we're going to add it again. So it needs to be a different state that just signifies that, yes, it's new, but it's just dirty new. You already have it, so just don't bother creating it again. And this is existing. But the user has changed. Existing and changed. Okay, clean. Clean would be if you fetched a record from the database, it's clean. It's untouched. It's perfect condition. You haven't changed it. If you want to save it, we don't need to save it because you haven't changed it, so it's clean. Okay. it's same as DB, right? So that's what that one would be. And then this one, we can say we've changed its status to be to be deleted. Okay, so those are the definitions of these statuses. Okay, so these are a field that exists in our structure, but at no time will we ever save it. So down here, when you initialize, we're going to say class state equals new, correct? There we go. We're good. So when we've created a record, it's been initialized, it's brand new. It has no anything. Okay, so we're doing pretty good here. So let's go back and see what else we need. We can come over here. So we have this guy, he's going to come in and we have modify, and modify is actually going to do a find. We need to find the record that they have selected, right? And return it from the database. So let's come over here and we're going to need a procedure find. And find is going to be, I need a person, person ID, right? And then you need to give me some sort of object to load up once I find it. So there's a find that we're going to need. So then let's keep looking. The next thing we're going to come into is a delete. Well, that's pretty important. We're going to need a delete. So this is all still valid, but what we're going to convert is this delete element thing. And we want that to actually delete out of the database, right? So let's come down here and we're going to add a delete. Procedure person delete. So then this will need that same object person. Now, the one we kind of have skipped over is, okay. The one we've skipped over is procedure save, right? And that's going to also just need a class of type person. Now, let's go ahead and fix this. Oops, that's wrong. We need these to all have the prefix in here of our person table, right? So we need to save it. And we're going to want END person. Oh, procedure. Okay, so now here comes the interesting part here. Remember our discussion on SQL that we had a couple videos ago. SQL differentiates between insert and then we have update, right? So that's two different SQLs we got to make of the SQL command code. So for insert, we can simply say, hey, if this class, right, that's our object, state equals new, or it equals class state uh, equals new dirty, then we know we need to insert it. And then we can simply just say else we're going to delete it. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Else we're going to do an update. Okay, so now we've taken care of insert and we've taken care of update. Now let's come over here and let's keep going. And we have an employee validate. Well, you know, the validation we didn't get here is unique, right? Unique is missing. And if you think about it, unique is one of those things where we're going to actually write SQL now because we need to do a query against the database for any other employee with the same name that's got a different ID, or yeah, we this has to be a SQL. So why don't we come over here on the database and say, okay, we can, well, let's put him at the, well, no, let's put it right here because he's right next door. So we can say procedure, person validate, right? And of course, he needs our class dot person, so we can run our various validations, right? And procedure, and what we want to do here is come in and say empty is we're going to check for empty. We're going to check for length. And then we need to check for unique. Okay. So, and to put that in here is simple enough, because what we can do is say, this is going to return true, or it's going to return false. Okay, so, whoops, that should have been not a comment. So that's going to return a true or false. So let's come up here and say, okay, if we can call down here and we can say, okay, if that is false, then we're done, right? We can say procedure. Actually, what we ought to do, if that's false, yeah. See procedure, and let's say return false. All right. So else, that means it's true, so it is valid. Then we can come down here and do an end if. Okay. So hopefully you're following along with this. I'm kind of just pseudo coding it at the moment. So down here, we're going to say, there's our 3 tests. We want to do a procedure return pass fail. How about that? Okay. Now, this step, furthermore, let's come up here and put in a pass fail. And we can set pass fail equals true. Now, the reason I set it for true, because this is going to come in and say, if r star class name equals nothing, then that's going to be one error, right? We can say pass fail is true. So we're looking to create the negatives. So it's good unless we find something that says it's bad. So that's going to be false. All right. And then we have the other test. See if I can get the bracket correct. Okay, so if it's the length is greater than 75. Okay. So let's come over here and say, length of that exceeds 75. That's an error. So now, all right, we don't want to keep popping up all these errors that name. You got, three different errors. You don't want three different error messages to pop up one after the other after the other. What would happen if you had 50 validations down here? They're going to sit here all day long saying, okay. Okay, so what we want this to do is we can say error message equals error message plus, and let's come in here and say name, give them the field name, field can not be blank. Okay, so put an exclamation on that. We can do this, and then let's go ahead and just put a pound line feed. Okay, so we've added a line feed to that. So I'm building a string that's going to have multiple lines, and we will come down here, and there's a check I got to do up here, and we want to say trim. So if trim, we're going to get rid of all the spaces. So if somebody erased a name by hitting space a bunch of times, we don't want a space as a name. So if this, then okay. And then down here, cannot be greater than 75 characters. Now, unique, I am not going to code unique for you right here. What I am going to do is I have some code off to the side on my other screen, and I'm scrolling down to find where on earth that code check is. Okay, so okay, so we're going to grab a rather large block of code, and I'll walk through it with you. So don't freak out. Also, this is going to be on my website when I finish all these videos and get this monstrosity I'm recording right now cut up. So there's two queries involved here. So we have our empty and our length greater than 75. So then we have a unique check for field. So what we want to do is, I've got some carryover code to get rid of. Okay, so we're going to open our database,